Welcome to Pickle Lane. I'm Josh.
And I'm Erin. And apparently, we have a lot to say.
I lived with chronic illness for years and then finally healed using a technology called Bioenergetics.
Through that experience, we co-founded a holistic wellness brand called Rudy.
We've learned a lot, to say the least, and we want to share it with you.
We'll explore mindfulness, wellness, and spirituality.
Topics ranging from pooping out parasites to breathwork and even traveling to parallel universes.
We spent a lot of years not living authentic to ourselves.
So our hope for Pickle Lane is to help you find your freedom and pick your own lane in life.
Tune in to a new episode of the Pickle Lane podcast every Friday on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
And subscribe and review if you haven't already.
We hope the show resonates and we can't wait to connect.
Welcome to Pickle Lane.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
Note, I'm not doing an intro with you at 8 o'clock.
Ready? Hi, everybody.
What it do, baby boo? For the sixth fucking time. Jeez, oh man.
This is what you get when it's 8 p.m. after I've worked in the
Never
hospital all
again
day.
I'm doing this. Never again.
Can we just play the word game one time?
One time. If we can't get it in 5,
Okay.
we're calling it a loss.
Okay, deal. Ready?
3, 2, 1, basketball. 3, 2, 1, bounce. Oh my goodness.
That felt great.
Hallelujah.
That felt like redemption.
We got it in 2.
Okay, wow. That was a really stingy high five.
Dude, that hurt my finger so bad. I think your ring like dislocated my finger. Bounced when she walked. Bounce when she walked. Bounce when she walked. I'm not going to ask you what's lighting you up because we spent 20 minutes talking about it and turned it into a podcast.
Whoopsies.
But if in case anybody is wondering, it's German New Medicine, and that's where we're going to leave it. And what's lighting me up is my pattern app, and y'all should go download it to go see your astrological signs and then come bond with me and see how we pair. And Erin and I are romantically paired, and it's epic. So that's the information that you're going to get from the intro that we spent 30 minutes recording before, and this is the 6th time. So there. Chelsee. She's awesome.
She is great. It was a good conversation. We're excited.
She's an herbalist on a 45-acre farm in Ohio who comes from Florida, and she had her own juice bar and then became an herbalist.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty wild story.
It is.
What a shift. I mean, the last episode of the podcast, we talked a lot about plant medicine, and I think this falls in perfectly.
It does.
With that. Plant medicine is herbs. Saved my life, and it's saving other people's lives.
Yeah.
And she's kind of doing it in a really beautiful way.
Yeah, I love that she's also astrological and celestial.
She is.
She's working with mind, body, and soul, spirit.
Yeah, we touch on that a little bit.
It's cool. I'm also excited to dive into more astronomy stuff. She inspired me.
The pattern app, y'all.
I know.
Go download it. Please go download it. Joshua Blatch is my handle.
A+ astrological match. Thank God, because what would we have done if it said never get together?
What if they're contributing to quarrels in relationships?
What, the pattern app?
Yeah.
Could be.
They link and then it's like, not compatible.
Get out now.
Yeah, that'd be terrible. Anyways, this is a good podcast.
Yeah,
I hope you guys enjoy it.
That sounded so fake.
Yeah, enjoy. Why don't you go enjoy this podcast? Bye.
So being seen is definitely something that I've also struggled with, and it feels terrifying at times. And it makes me think a lot about the nervous system and how we've got that like fight or flight or fawn, and not as many people know so much about the fawning state. But you think about a fawn in nature, and it's if they're seen, they kind of freeze and they stare at you like, oh, if I don't move, maybe I won't be seen, maybe I won't be hurt. They don't feel safe to be seen. And I think a lot of us are stuck there and don't even realize it. So I know that Conscious Seed, one of your big goals with your products is to nourish the nervous system and heal the nervous system. Talk to us a little bit about Conscious Seed, kind of how you fell into that or started pursuing that.
Yes. So I started working with botanicals when I was 19. I was working in a little tiny juice bar. So I just did everything. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. So I have that in my system naturally. That's all, honestly, that's all that I know. I don't know how to work for other people. It's kind of weird. I only worked at that juice bar for about a year and then I was like, I got to get out of here. I have to start my own thing. So the woman that hired me, she was very much into holistic wellness and has been working with some really magical people that are very well known these days. She had books in the space. And so when I wasn't busy on my break, learning about tonic herbs, rejuvenative herbs, everything started with Ayurveda. So working with the elements from the get-go. I have always struggled with anxiety, nervous system issues, overthinking, all those things.
Yeah.
So many of us do.
Yeah. Based on my chart, it makes a lot of sense. And like also just culture in general.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to go the route of pharmaceuticals. I had already been on an antidepressant for 3 years and I don't remember those times at all. I don't remember 3 years of my life at all. Like blackout moment, horrible. And like in a way that led into a lot of the grief that I felt in my mid to late 20s where I'm just like, oh my gosh, where did my life go? What's going on? Oh my gosh, just spinning. And so I really wanted to focus on the nervous system because that's what I needed to do for myself. And I'm like, if I'm going to go on living this life, I need to help myself and I need to be okay with helping myself because that was always one of those things too. Where I'm just like, help other people before I can help myself and blah, blah, blah. Like
doesn't work that way.
Just kind of going down that line for a long time. I had my first business when I was 21. I got married when I was 21.
Wow.
And just started life out really early. And then about 24, 25, I started realizing I'm not happy. I'm not happy with what I'm doing, even though I was serving the community. I was a pillar in Florida where I come from. One day a hurricane came. It just shut down the whole island for 3 months. And it was, talk about a force of nature. Because at that point, we were like really at this point of should we continue or should we stop? Because I was already on this point where I'm happy, but I'm not really feeling is what I need to do. I don't really feel like I want to create cold press organic juices for really wealthy people for the rest of my life.
Wasn't aligned.
Yeah. I enjoyed the hell out of it, but it was just exhausting. I wasn't able to take care of myself. So
funny how the universe does that.
It was just like, here, I'll help you make the decision. Because me and decision, I get decision paralysis where I'm like, I can't.
I mean, you worked hard in that too.
Yeah. And like, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what I was supposed to do.
Was a calling for a time maybe.
Yeah. That was my college, as my mom would call it.
I mean, what an amazing education.
I really like your parents.
Yeah, they're really fab. Yeah. We've come a long way.
I bet.
But love them. So with that, I ended up moving out to Loveland on a 45-acre beautiful organic farm and just kind of let my nervous system rest.
Yeah.
For the first year and a half, 2 years, I really just devoted. And I still am devoted to the earth and I would do physical labor. I was grieving at that point. Like I gave a child up for adoption at that point. I was just like, I just gave up. Oh my gosh, I'm horrible. All these random ass stories that are not true.
Yeah.
It was a personal choice that needed to be made and for the health of my family and my relationship. So kind of just devoting to the land, starting to grow the plants, growing the medicine, actually having a relationship with the soil and with the microbes and with everything, seeing just how tall plants can actually go and how long it actually takes for them to produce until they're prepared for cultivation. So having that one-on-one experience really blasted me open to the world of herbalism. Because before that, I would not. I think just last year was the first year that I actually considered myself an herbalist.
Wow.
You know, labels are kind of like weird, but it's important to know your name and call yourself by your work. And that's something that I'm like learning to honor and devote to myself as like my soul, not just my ego. It's more of my soul needs this so I can continue to move forward. But through growing all the plants, I say the plants grow me. And so one part of that is supporting the community of the ecology of the property that I live at. So I have a couple of different pieces of the property that I work with, and everything that I grow is pretty much native. That's a big part of my giving back to the land. And that's a part of the reciprocity.
Yeah.
Nature really gets to speak in those moments too. There's moments where you're like, what is the medicine? Or like when I'm having a really hard day, I go out to the the mugwort and the motherwort, and I'm just like, hi.
Yeah.
And I just start crying. And it's just this beautiful symbiotic relationship where the bees are flying around me. I hear the hummingbirds. I hear big birds in the sky. I hear the waterfall that's close by. And then this big gush of wind comes in and I'm like,
yeah,
that's medicine.
Yeah. From that point, then I harvest and then I prepare the remedies. That's a big part of my calling with creating the remedies, is that they want to be of support for the community as well. I'm just a translator or like a bridge between the humans.
Yeah.
So working with bridging the plants, the planets, and the people. So yeah.
Wow, I love this. We just had an entire episode about just the connectedness with our natural environment that so many of us are cut off from. I mean, we live 99% of our lives indoors. We have no idea what the moon is doing. We're not conscious of where the sun is during the day.
To be clear, we do.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying,
but society,
as the human race, we have become so disconnected and we miss out on so many beautiful lessons just by observing. We don't even have to play in the ground yet. Just observing nature and listening to her. She has so much to share.
I mean, literally an entire episode was just talked about how plant medicine just has so much communication if you listen.
Yeah.
And the interconnectedness that we have is absurd. Many aren't paying attention to that and living life siloed.
They think they're living siloed. That's the difference.
True.
Is we can't be. There's no way to.
Yeah, it's not
in
living.
Our DNA. We have to have that. Whether it's like, we have grandmas and dads that are like, smell that nice grass.
Yeah.
It could be literally that simple, where you're just like, I have a relationship. It's a
olfactory
system. That's a connection. It's our senses. That can be one simple way and have that connection, because there's no words. Nature's not going to be like,
right. Although sometimes they talk to Josh.
Yeah, sometimes.
Not on anything. So, backstory, many know that I had intense chronic illness. To the point of being bedridden. We had tried everything, westernized medicine, went to functional medicine, nothing seemed to help. We found bioenergetics, which is what Rudy is. Many of the things that healed me was herbs. What happened after the healing, and when I then went into this idea of plant medicine, I felt such a unique connection. It gave me my life back, very literally. What I think about now, often when I'm daydreaming or even just pondering on my journey, is that it was almost like it began a new type of communication inside of me, where my body received and accepted what the herbs had to offer. So now it sounds wild, but like I'll go touch a tree and I'll intuitively know something. And it's not my consciousness talking to me. Pete Holmes has a bit, he's a comedian, is like, we all have this thing in our head and we can tell it to be louder or quieter. So he'll be like, scream a word and then whisper the word, and you hear it screaming and whispering. That's your mind's voice. This is just a knowing. I have a tree in the woods on our trail and I walk by and I'll touch it and it'll tell me things all the time. And I will literally be like, it's because it gave me my life back. It's because it communicated with my body to help it heal in the ways it needed to heal. And now I'm connected in some random way, but I'm here to listen. It hasn't been wrong yet. So
you're receptive, you're open, you're an open vessel. And that's what I think nature and plants and the celestial energies around us have. They're just waiting for us to listen.
100%.
They just want us to listen. Just a child or just a teacher. They just want you to be present and to remember they are here. So when you slow yourself down just a little bit, you get humble and you're just like, okay, I'm fully surrendered at this point. Like, that's part of my journey where I'm just like, I am devoted. I have nothing else to lose in my life.
Yeah, you hit
Dark
rock
night
bottom.
of the soul. Yeah. You just go outside and you just like, I got a reading recently and she's like, your guides want you to just tell them the news. I'm like, oh my God, that's what I want my friends and my lovers to tell me. Tell me how you're doing. Tell me your life. Tell me what you're feeling. Tell me about your dreams, even if they seem all weird. Just tell me. They want to be included. They want to be able to help you digest and process and integrate the work and the information that's coming in, because
I mean, you must have did something with your guides, because then my guides reached out. The way we got Chelsee on the podcast was I literally was in a meditation. I mean, no offense. You weren't on the mind at all. I mean, you come up on my Instagram sometimes, every now and then, but I wasn't keeping tabs.
Yeah.
And literally I heard it. and it was just like conscious seed. And I was like, conscious seed for the podcast? I think I DM'd you right after my meditation.
Yeah. You're like, sounds
So
really
you were
weird.
tapping into your guides even maybe before you knew it.
Honestly, I don't know what I do.
You're open.
Yeah,
Probably.
I just, hey, I'm here to receive and to give, and whoever's open, here I am. I'm at that point. Yeah, one of those.
I love it. So after the hurricane and your business kind of fell through your fingers, or however that
The choice was made.
Yes,
yeah.
the choice was made. Yeah, you mentioned kind of having a season of, I don't know what that felt like, if that was more dark, depressive season, or if it was just a season of waiting. But we work with a lot of people who feel like maybe they're in that season where it feels like all the things around you are crumbling, especially with chronic illness. I would love to hear how that season for you gave space or helped you to cultivate something different. Because here you are now, it feels like, and again, we all are human. We're all experiencing life every day and nobody's perfect, but it seems like you're stepping into a new thing and you're using your life now and your story as medicine for the world, which is incredible and what we all hope for. So yeah, tell us how that season kind of primed you.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Honestly, it was about 3 years, longest night feeling. Like that was the feeling. I feel it in moments. Part of my nervous system is still primed for that. And that's something that I'm still nourishing at this point. Mothering. I've had to learn that mothering is a big part of how I found the other side. And I don't know, I feel like for me, I just surrendered. I kind of fell into a safe space where I could live. And I just devoted to my healing for the first time because I was hearing everybody else's stories and holding on to all of it and be like, oh my gosh. And staying up super late to hyper focus on how I can support this person and how I can offer them healing from the plants and through nourishment. But I needed to really just cleanse myself of this cultural belief that I needed to be perfect. Perfection kind of was one of those things. And the concept of perfection really is one of those cleanses.
Who, me? Josh is looking at me.
You know, it's a work in progress, you know, constantly. I'm a Virgo rising. I got some stuff where I'm just like this and that. And it needs to look like this. And, you know, it's important. But there's other moments where it's just like, you know, it's okay to be a little scrappy. It's okay to be a kid at it as well, to have enjoyment. And that was also something that I needed to really return to, was like joy for life, like the Viva. But I needed to know who the hell I was. And I didn't know who I was at that point. I don't know. I studied astrology in that 3-year pocket, and that really helped me fall in love with who I am personally and really see who I am and give me a lot of grace. Where I'm just like, oh, okay, honey. When I started, the internal talk started changing because I was like, okay, so I have Mercury in this placement. It takes me here or here. This is the spectrum of where my internal self goes. And so through that, I started catching myself. That was where the parenting came in, and my partner was helpful. He's like, come on, honey, would you say this to a kid? And no, you wouldn't say that to a child. And I'm like, okay, I'm not a child, but that's the part that really needs to be like loved on a little bit harder. And so just learning how to reprogram the self-talk, hold myself accountable for being kind and knowing what my triggers were, because before I was just going on autopilot, because like working, having to open up the shop at 10, closing at 4, working even longer than that, and being accountable in that way was one way. And I was like, okay, there's what's the opposite side of that spectrum, and that's where I was. So trying to find this equilibrium, this balance between what I should do and what I need to do kind of was really helpful for me. And it's just, honestly, it's a really slow process. I think about the Saturn cycles. It's a slow moving planet. And so we need to be able to allow ourselves the time, the space, and the courage. Honestly, you need a lot of courage to live. But like, courage doesn't always have to be, you need to be like stoic. You can also just be like, I'm figuring it out and I'm not perfect and I'm going to fail. And the more I fail, the closer I get to the gold. Just having grace and being able to know that there is a light within the shadow and that there is gold within that dark, dense place. It just takes time, and we just have to be okay with the time. And that's really a hard lesson.
Coming from another Virgo rising, the bravest thing I could have done was surrender. Surrender is such a beautiful word, which I now will be using more than I like to say, just let it go. And I joke, I send frozen
Yeah.
like gifts to everyone. I can't even tell you how many clients that I've sent that to, how many people will DM me, and I'll just be like, the answer is literally just to let it go. And only you can do that, but surrender is so much better. That divine feminine coming out, it is soft and sweet and peace,
But it's
but
powerful.
so
Mhm.
powerful.
It's protective.
That's where I was going.
It's protection.
Agreed.
A part of the surrender has to do with I am protected. And that's
Yeah.
kind of a part of the alchemy of surrender is like knowing,
Agreed.
or at least having a glimmer of faith that you are in protection so you can surrender and have that like, trust
Yes.
fall and complete
Mhm.
allowance of
Mhm.
whatever's coming.
So good.
I resonate with that so much.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm very curious to talk more astrology because it's just not something I know much about. I mean, I know my sign but I love that it gave you language or a kind of a framework to work within to love yourself deeply and to forgive yourself too. I think at its worst, it's an excuse. It's like, well, Mercury's in retrograde, my life's in shambles.
Viral, yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've unfollowed almost every astrologer that I follow.
Yeah.
And I tell all my clients, I'm like, just delete or
Yeah.
mute. Don't even pay attention because it's toxic.
I agree.
And that's why on the down low, I'm like, I'm like, I don't even tell people that I do that work because it's
Yeah.
kind of cringy at this moment, especially on the Instagram world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
social media has at least brought astrology into the conversation, which
Yeah.
I'm really thankful for. I don't know much, but it also helped me in my dark season as well, just digging into myself and reestablishing my divine identity and starting to understand what I was meant to be. Astrology helped a lot with that. So I'm grateful that it's in conversation now, but the toxicity inside of astrology, specifically on social media, has gotten really toxic. And it's kind of building this jaded idea, which it already had a jaded idea before social media. So I'm curious how you navigate that. And playing off of Erin's question, just starting to understand how that integrated into your life in the depths of surrender to then bring you out of the depths.
Oh my gosh. So quickly on the social media thing, I think a lot of people in that realm hyper focus on the low road. So I see everything.
Victimization.
Yeah. And like the dark side of these signs.
Yeah.
And then it just makes everybody be like, oh, me. And I'm like, oh my God, that's just feeding the sad boys and girls and humans in us. And I'm like, I don't need any more of that. I got that covered. So I see astrology on the spectrum, and I see astrology from the lens of elements and their blending, their alchemy. Within my own like healing journey, it's really helped me like see, okay, I have a Leo. I'm a Leo sun. I have a stellium in Leo. I've always grappled with. I've always been like, oh my God, I don't like being Leo. My mom's a Leo.
Wow.
There's all the memes of Leos. They're just like cringe. I'm just like, well, I don't want to be that. But I realized within my astrology practice that I have the stellium in Leo in the 12th house, which makes so much sense for who I am. So I'm able to be light, but with it being in the 12th house, so it's layered with fire and water, which alchemically put each other out.
Yeah.
But it's in balance. It's this amazing, powerful force of nature. And so I've worked with that. And I'm like, okay, so like where I don't even know how to describe it because the 12th house it's ruled by Pisces. So it's very large and it's all encompassing and it's the depths of the water. I imagine it's like in the tectonic plates underneath where like Earth begins. So I imagine that. And then, but I feel like the high road of both of those signs and that the house placement is that I have so much love to give where it almost bursts and it hurts in moments with knowing over the past, oh my gosh, I don't even know, however many years it's been that I've been like studying deeply with astrology. I've learned how to like temper myself so I don't put out my fire and where my fire doesn't just burn up everything and overpower everybody and everything. And it's a balance. It's constantly finding the middle way. And that's something that I live by is like, what is the middle way? Because I don't need to be like on this extreme or this extreme. It can be like a nice, easeful balance. And that's something that I've been working with for a long time at this point. So yeah, that was one example.
And I love the concept of the middle way. I feel like that's something I'm constantly learning too, because it's when we're...
Erin's a Pisces.
I am. Pisces.
Nice.
I don't know a whole lot about astrology. I can't wait to just pick
I'll
your
give you a
brain. But
reading.
yeah, my sun sign is Pisces. I'm
don't think-
Cancer moon. And so yeah, I'm very tender. And Leo rising,
Oh,
which I
wow.
know the least about.
I love
but
that.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've
What?
never got readings.
I know. We'll have to do that.
Heck yeah. We can even do a couples reading. That was a
Oh,
couple
I'd
of
be
times.
so game for that.
Watch out, it's kind of like therapy. So
Oh,
it'll
I
be-
could see how it
it'll
I
be
mean,
good.
if you're up for it, I'm so game.
I love a
I
challenge.
love it.
Like that.
Great.
Yeah.
We'll do it. But yeah, this concept of the middle way, and even how you're talking about with surrender, if we go too far in either direction, which this correlates so beautifully with bioenergetics and how our technology works. It's
Yeah.
literally what we're doing. We're trying to find the middle way
Homeostasis.
within frequencies of the human body. But if you go too far with this concept of surrender, you tap out, you give up, you're not showing up. And if you go the other way, it's all about finding that balance in all things. And I do feel like nature teaches that over and over again. How not, I don't want to say how fragile, but how easily we can become out of balance, whether it's a pest in the garden, but there's always a way to balance it. So yeah, I just love that concept of the middle way. Something I'm learning constantly. I would love to hear more about your herbs and your concoctions that you make. I know they focus on nervous system regulation as kind of or nervous system nourishment. And I also know that it's important to you that they taste good, which is fun because
that's important.
Because they usually don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming from experience.
Coming from a herbalist perspective, they're
Yeah, they're potent.
in moments I'm just on the ground where I'm like, oh
Yeah.
I'm like,
Potent.
is this really working? And that was a part of my passion. Like I have a background with my mom and her ex-husband being in the restaurant business. So working within flavor profiles and really kind of touching on all the flavors and giving you this deliciousness. I have music that comes into my head in moments.
I love this.
For weeks, because I'm a stubborn person. I have a lot of fixed energy signs in my chart. I'm like very prissy in moments. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Why are you being so stubborn and weird? So I had this song. I'd wake up in the morning and I was singing the freaking Mary Poppins song.
I love
A
it.
spoonful of sugar makes a medicine go down.
Incredible.
And my husband was just like, are you kidding me? Over and over and over. And he's, I don't even remember the last time we watched that movie. I'm like, we've obviously have never watched it together. But I'm like, it means something because usually, I don't know, that's how me and my mom kind of work, where we both have music and we're like, oh my gosh, what does this mean? But this song, the spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. And then I was just like, I had to surrender. I was like, I'm sick of it. Usually that's the moments where I'm like, okay, that's when I become open, when I'm just like, I'm done. I was just like, what do I do? I'm not going to put like cane sugar in my products. That's kind of not okay. And I was just like, what else? I'm like, maple syrup? No. Honey. And then I started going down that whole road. So honey is a really big part of the medicine. I've taken some online courses with some amazing teachers about bee shamanism, but like learning about how the divine feminine and the divine masculine and have always been a part of this hive mind. And I brought that medicine, that symbolic medicine, but also the physical medicine of honey into all of my products. Sweetness is important on the taste buds, but also energetically, your body's more receptive to receive in that rather than with just bitter medicine. Sometimes you need that, but I'm on the mindset of, okay, 9 out of 10 times, I'm not going to take something that tastes disgusting.
Right.
And my body is already prepping to like get the heebie-jeebies
100%.
from. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to just do it. And it's really nice to be able to offer that and to have that be the sweetness that makes these more bitter herbs, especially like mugwort and motherwort, which are like predominantly bitter and even taste better. So you actually hold the medicine for the proper time, especially the elixirs and the tinctures. So then you swallow it and you're not like, that was disgusting. You're like, okay, I'm going to be more consistent about this because it actually works because I'm doing it properly. So that's a big part of it. I have a great beekeeper I
was going to ask you, who are you? Do you have a hive?
I don't have a hive yet. I don't have the time for it yet. Plus it just feels like such a big initiation. I think maybe next year, my beekeeper, he's in his, oh my gosh, late 70s.
Cool. What a life.
Beekeepers are incredible.
We have a neighbor who just does it as a hobby. They have chickens and bees and all, and I just think it's so fun.
Yeah.
I mean, bees, just coming from our experience with chronic Lyme, there's research coming out now. I don't know too much about it, but bee venom therapy is
BVT.
huge.
Oh yeah.
I know multiple people that have completely healed from Lyme through BVT.
Interesting. I don't ask the bees to sting me, but it's a blessing. I have no fear of it. And my beekeeper and I have that convo quite often. I was in New Mexico recently and I got stung on the first day that I was there, and it was by so random, so like instant.
in and out.
And the stinger's still in me.
Yeah.
And I went to my acupuncturist a couple weeks later. I'm like, what meridian is this on? And he's like, this is your heart meridian. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been doing a lot of heart healing and just doing that. He's like, it's on your protection line.
I love bees. Being an herbalist and having a herbal company, how do you utilize astrology inside of that business to bring light to what you're doing?
That's a really great question that I'm still figuring out.
That's awesome.
Honestly, full transparency kind of stresses me out at moments where I'm like, why haven't I figured this out yet? And I'm like, it takes time, girlfriend. It takes time and dedication. At the moment, I feel like it makes sense for how each of my remedies kind of are supportive. So we can definitely connect certain remedies to certain planets and or certain retrograde periods and chaos moments, transformations and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I work with it at the moment.
I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That consideration isn't being taken in the herbalist world.
True.
Yeah. So
like
awesome.
bring it down to like tangible natural sciences.
Sure.
If that makes sense. There's just so much untapped within that realm. And I'm just like, yeah, there's all those spiritual that's like, oh yeah, the sun is connected to these plants. I'm like, okay, cool. What else? How can we really actually support each other community for people who aren't going to go on that whole spiritual journey with the plant medicine and all that stuff? That's great for that. I have all of my remedies can definitely assist people in those situations, but also for the everyday, I just need to help myself. I'm having trouble falling asleep or I'm having trouble with supporting my mood because I need to have this conversation. I'm kind of like nervous and I don't know what I'm going to say, you know? Also just focusing on those tangible, very human programmed things. So
I love that.
Yeah. A common thread throughout this conversation is that things take time. I think we've all said that a couple times. So I'd love to hear your take on, we talked about this a little bit last week, but a lot of us are used to working in this kind of conventional or modern medical framework where we take a pharmaceutical and fairly instantly we feel a change in one way or another. And the limited amount of research that I've done, I'm certainly no herbalist, but I understand the phytochemicals within plants and it's working at a completely different level. It's supporting at a cellular level. We're not halting a biological process like a pharmaceutical often does. We're more so supercharging certain parts and pieces of the body to do a job better on its own, but that doesn't happen always overnight, especially with herbals. So talk to us a little bit like how do herbs work? Why do they work? What's happening in the body with them? And take that wherever you want, if that's specific to the nervous system or not. But I think people need to understand how herbs are different than popping a pill.
Got you. Okay. This is a great question. How I understand it at this moment is that plants, that's why I say nourish, because it's a building. If you're someone like me that comes from a lot of stress, your adrenals are fatigued, taking a pill or taking a plant for the first time, you might not notice it, but one of my missions in creating herbal remedies is where you feel it almost instantly, especially if you've already have a relationship to plants or botanicals or even mushrooms, like medicinal mushrooms. Your body is more like, oh, I know what to do with this. I know where to put you.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. But the nervous system is connected to everything from if you have gut issues or if you have allergies, if you have sleep issues, if you have chronic headaches, if you just literally anything. The nervous system is the most ancient aspect of
our
physiology, the living world. Honestly, I've just started this book and it's talking about how mycelium and even like lichen have nervous systems. They just wouldn't call it a nervous system. And so I think about even amphibians and that fight, flight, fawn, about animals. They all have different nervous system responses and how they release their nervous system. I don't think there's enough research going on with people witnessing what animals consume on a medicinal level, which I think would be really cool. And that's where I'm just like, we're just remembering. And through my practice and my remedies and conscious seed in general is here to give you jumping off points for you to work with, because your body and your DNA and just your everything remembers these plants. So I work with all different plants from all over, and cross-culturally I blend certain things together, but I like to kind of work with synergistic plants and plants that are companions because of there's this innate connection that they have. And I'm like, okay, they need to hang out with their friends still.
Sure. That energy is real.
Yeah. And so I really want to honor and devote the plants to themselves and make sure that they're happy as well, because then I feel like they're received in our bodies and for our minds and for our spirits so much easier. So that's a big part of what I do. I think that answers your question.
It did.
It does. Absolutely. Yeah. I love herbs. I think people really underestimate the power that plants hold.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just, again, we're primed and used to just a different framework. And we think that these are ancient practices used by uneducated people, when in reality, these were things that were studied for centuries meticulously, and people learned over time, this herb does that. And so just because our modern day research isn't so focused on plants doesn't make it any less powerful than our pharmaceuticals, in my opinion. But I love it. What are some of your favorite products? What are your top handful? You brought us something, right?
Yeah, I brought brain food.
Okay.
I'm a coffee drinker, but I only do it once a day.
Good girl.
I've learned the hard way. I used to be like 7-8 shots of espresso.
Woo!
Hey, adrenals.
I was going to
Yeah.
say, pumping that cortisol.
Yeah, that was a big part of the problem.
That'll do it.
I'm undiagnosed ADHD. I don't really care in diagnosis at the point for that.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. I formulated brain food. Brain food actually comes from way back when I had the shop. It's focused. And then it has the medicinal mushrooms. It's kind of like best of all the world of all the products that everybody's consuming now. And so it's like medicinal mushroom coffee mixed with herbal coffee, mixed with adaptogens and nootropics, and it's
awesome.
All focused. The core of what started was the concept of the Ayurvedic blend of ghee and gotu kola, and how those two.
What is that second
amazing.
one? I don't even know that.
Gotu kola is, oh my gosh, it's a tiny little plant
Okay.
that really focuses on neural focus. It's great for people who have memory loss and things like that. It's all brain focused.
Yeah.
But it also is an adrenal support. So that's what that's focused on. And there's ashwagandha in there.
Sweet.
There's no caffeine in it, but from the raw cacao that's inside of it.
Oh, I'm so excited
It's
to try it.
delicious.
I can't wait.
Nice
Yeah.
and chocolatey. So I mix that in my coffee. That's
cool.
Number one, how I start my day. Actually, my partner puts that in my
Love
coffee
it.
for me because he does that.
He's a good partner.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
And then I love Lion's Heart, which is my favorite. It's our anxiety ally. That's one of the OGs of the elixirs. That was a formula I made for myself that really helped me get out of my cave moments, the dark cloud moments.
Wow.
What all is in that one?
There's motherwort in there, which grows like a weed because it is a weed in my garden. It's gorgeous. And then there's ashwagandha. Milky oats is a big part of that formula as well. Oh my gosh. And there's a
lots
handful
of good
other
things.
plants.
I love it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's, for me, I used to get shaky to the point where I'm just like, I can't do anything.
Yeah.
But with that blend, I've totally cut that out of my system.
Cool.
And like, that was something that I thought I'd never be able to move out of. But other than that, all of the remedies, I use them all religiously. Dream Cloud is a great one for sleeping. I get a lot of my genius thoughts at night. And I'm like, okay, I need to chill out. Mind, brain, spirit. Can we just do this when I'm not laying in bed and I need to get rest? So I take that one. That one is great for helping me fall asleep because it relaxes my mind. It actually relaxes the body. There's some kava in there, which you actually feel. And then there's nervines in there that really help you rejuvenate your nervous system overnight. So you wake up feeling really ready. So yeah.
That doesn't sound awesome.
I know. We're definitely going to get some of these. That's awesome.
You're awesome.
I know. I'm
Seriously,
so
you're a gift.
thankful.
Thank you.
Yeah. I had no idea what to expect.
Me either.
Me
Like,
neither. I'm just like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about.
We kind of just went on a whim here. But yeah, this was really incredible.
And I just need to say, because I think this is important also for listeners and for us, how important it is to choose for yourself, to heal yourself.
Yeah.
Because the world doesn't get your medicine unless you are your own medicine first. Like you cannot heal the world until you've at least started the process of healing yourself. So your story is one of so many that we've heard like that, where it's like, as soon as I put the other things aside and devoted to myself, to my own healing, that's when the world opens up for us. That's when we have the energy and life force and, I don't know, all the things to do all the things.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we very literally say all the time, you can't love others until you love yourself. That surrender, that peace, that grace that you give yourself on a daily basis. I mean, you could choose to surrender, but then you have to choose to surrender again.
So, it's a everyday kind of process.
Yeah. This is the life's journey and it's our destiny. It's what we're called to do as humans. We cannot project that onto other people or even interest other people in the surrender until you've surrendered yourself. Yeah, you're doing that beautifully.
So it was a gift for yourself, and that would be worth it in itself, but also it's a gift to all of us. So thank you for making that choice and for helping others too, hopefully as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The gift
Sweet.
that keeps giving.
Yeah.
It is.
That's one of the things that I say a lot. Is the gift that keeps giving. And that's a big reminder for me to continue, because sometimes it feels like I don't know what's going on, but it's like really important to just continue to show up.
That's all we can do.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, this was great. Thanks for being on.
Yeah, thank you.
Should we drink some brain food?
Yeah.
I love it.
We love you guys.
Love you. Stay open.
Bye.